Tell the world who you are and what you do, brother.
I'm Chris Williams with Irish Bully Kennels, and I breed American XL Bullies.
So what made you choose the XL Bully in the first place? Well, actually, before you get to that, what got you into dogs in the first place?
Man, I've always loved what we call bulldogs, any kind of pit bull breed, just in general, up here where we live at, it's just a huge thing, man. And we've always grown up since we were knee-high to a grasshopper, loving these dogs and stuff and having them around us. So I've always loved their behavior and their traits and stuff that they pass through. So, man, it just come natural to me, when the American Bully come along to fall in love with it.
So you gravitated towards the XL. Why is that?
Because I've always wanted the biggest dog, when, as far as American Pit Bull Terriers, see, where Dakota likes the more game dogs, the 35 to 45 pound, just go at it champions. I like the bigger dog, more calm, because I have two kids, and I've just always loved a big, calm, gentle giant, more or less, that can, if when it comes to push comes to pull, it can actually defend you as well. Right.
So would you say that your XLs are naturally protective, or did you have to train that into them?
They're naturally protective. They gravitate towards, family in general, and they're more of a family-oriented dog. They pick one person, but they love the entire family.
Gotcha. What bloodlines were you using?
I'm using, I got a Gatorhead Bully, Chop, and Tennessee Bullies, Violet son. And he's about 130, big old, about 28-inch head. He's just a monster, man. And then I've got some blood from out west as well in my yard. And I had some blood that I've been working on as well, some UKC blood. And I'm just trying to bring the best, of the West and the East together here in our area. We don't have the real big dog, like, for instance, Lion King or King Zion type dog. So I've just always wanted to produce monsters,
I gotcha. So, how long have you been breeding?
American Bullies, I haven't been breeding that long, about 4 years. But bulldogs in general, I've been involved with breeding for, since I was 15 years old. So approximately, probably dang near 20 years.
Gotcha. Now, out of all the bloodlines you mentioned, what, because you haven't sent me the photos yet, or many photos yet.
Right.
What traits come out the most?
I like the big head, the wide stance, a correct rear. I'm looking, I know there's no such thing as the, perfect bully, because if you ever get there, you just need to quit because you're getting kennel blind. But, I want to get as close in my mind to a perfect bully as I can. Just a big, wide, huge-headed, with a good bite. That's one thing I'm particular about. I don't want my dogs coming out with bulldog traits, the lower jaw protruding from the upper jaw. I want the scissor bite type, dogs.
I gotcha. So, you have more of the bully dog as opposed to the athletic dogs, or?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I gotcha.
Now, I do have a couple athletic females. Like, I have a mark-off granddaughter, and she's got a lot of heavy ICK blood in her as well. And I actually got her from a buddy of mine down east, his Country Iron Kennels, Mike Page. He's a real good guy, man. Me and my cousin started this together, another cousin that I have. And he just got more interested in this job and stuff and didn't really have the time anymore. So I just more or less took all the dogs.
I got
and because, I fall in love with them, man. Honestly, I'd be a dog boarder if I could.
I hear that. So, as far as the trainability of your dogs, do you do a lot of training work?
Yes, I do. I work with them with a spring pole and a flirt pole. I want to get a slap meal. That's one thing I'm interested in doing, is starting to actually work them, because I like big dogs, but they have to be functional. Mm-hmm. I harp on that as well. You know, I don't want just straight out couch potatoes, but, you know, I still want them to be able to work of a day, go in of a night, and just chill out.
Right. What is the general weight of your dogs?
Around about anywhere from, now I have some smaller pet dogs, like my dog Sasha. She's probably the littlest one that I have right now, and she's about 65 on a good day. But my normal dogs that I breed are from 100 pounds and up, and the biggest one I have is probably Law, and he's approximately 135 pounds, yeah.
I gotcha. That sounds about right for a decent XL. I think people get carried away by thinking that the more their dog weighs, the better. And
yeah, I see that all the time. That's the first thing, you know, XL breeders jump on and harp on. What's it weigh? It's like, no, let's look at its features, you know. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm more interested in. Like I said, I like big dogs, but I don't like them, you know, just big couch potato sitting on their behinds.
Right. Now, okay, you're up in the Smoky Mountains. First off, because you're a lucky sumbitch. But second off, it's you guys deal with more extreme cold than you do extreme heat. How do the dogs deal with that?
Absolutely great. I have some outside dogs, and then I rotate, you know, from outside to in.
Yeah.
I actually have built a dog room on the side of my house, and that's all that's in there. It's just, you know, I have a whelping room, and I have dogs and kennels where I can rotate them out, and no dog ever stays in a kennel, you know, longer than 5 hours. The most that they stay is when I go to work, and then they come home and get rotated out and worked, and they get to go in the free rooms, what I call it.
Gotcha, where they're just kind of hanging out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Because, I mean, they aren't dog aggressive. I breed away from DA dogs, but I wouldn't trust them by themselves, because, you know, incidents happen all the time.
Right, yeah. All it takes is a dirty look.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I hear
and
that.
They are way too big to be breaking up. You know, I've been bit several times breaking other dogs off of my dog, so.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as temperament is concerned and that natural protection instinct that you speak on, how would you compare the male to the female?
The males, they gravitate more to a female. You know, my males love me, but they absolutely love my wife. I mean, they'll die for her. And the females, they're the opposite. They gravitate towards the males of the house, which is just me, because I live with 300 females. So, you know, and that's mainly what I have more of. I have 2 males, but it's mainly the rest females.
I gotcha. Now, you've dealt with a lot of different types of bulldogs. Would you would you compare the XL temperament and trainability to other bulldogs?
Absolutely. They stand above and beyond in their own realm. I mean, the trainability, they're so smart and capable dogs, you can teach them to do anything.
No.
And they catch on a lot quicker, I've learned. You know, they are still a little stubborn. But I've learned, you know, there's special ways to deal with that. I do positive reinforcement, and I also do negative reinforcement. If they do something wrong, you know they get popped. And if they do something good, they know they get fed. But it's not an expected type treat. Sometimes I don't give it to them. I just give them attention and loving. So they did really well, man. I've never had an issue too much with my dogs of not having one that I couldn't train.
Yeah, I gotcha. Now, here is a couple, I guess I'd call them experimental questions. If you absolutely no choice had to pick another breed, what would you go with?
I gotta say it'd probably be, if it was a total different breed, probably a bull terrier or a mastiff.
I gotcha. Now, another question, if you felt creative and wanted to outcross to a different breed, what would you choose?
That's a tough one. I gotta say, probably an Argentino. That would be, the farthest that I would be willing to transfer any traits or anything, because I really like their look and their attitude and stuff. But it's just, there's nothing like the American XL Bully.
Gotcha. Now, when you're breeding, how close are you willing to breed?
I do line breeding and inbreeding. Selective line breeding is what's going to conform your blood and make your line's traits pop out. Now, when I inbreed is when I want to lock those traits in. I've successfully, had continuous litters, and they're all uniform and have the same traits, that I'm looking for. That's when I'm willing to inbreed.
Gotcha. So basically, when you see, well, obviously there's no such thing as a perfect dog, but when you see a dog that's closer than something you've ever seen, closer than anything you've ever seen before, you'll take, say, if it's a male, you'll take a daughter of that and breed it back to it.
Yes,
Gotcha.
absolutely. Father, daughter, and mother, son.
Gotcha.
Yes, absolutely.
That makes sense. So when you're looking at a litter of puppies, for example, what do you do to select what you want?
What my keepers, I look, for their temperament. I also make sure their drive. I fully test all my dogs. I go out there, with toys, make loud noises, make sure, that they're not too shy, but at the same time, they're not too aggressive where they aggress towards the noise, also. And I look at I'm a real big stickler on angulation as well as the bite. I check the bite thoroughly, but also angulation, because when they're a puppy, the bite can change a significant amount. But it can't be nothing too crazy, far out underbite or overbite, anything of that nature. I'll just automatically pet home, and they won't go with papers. Gotcha.
That makes sense. Now, as the dog is getting older, what are some of the tests that you run, and at what age?
I do, my dogs go for their shots. I actually have a mobile vet that comes to me. She is super good. She's been doing it a long time. She comes out and checks my dogs for worms, and she vaccinates them and all that. And then we start doing, hip tests and stuff like that to make sure that they don't have any hip dysplasia, or not hip dysplasia, but hip discomfort or anything like that.
Mm. Now, the other side of testing, such as how to test to find the temperament you want, where you mentioned making loud noises and things like that, but is there anything else you do?
Yes, I watch them thoroughly with, in their pack. With a litter of pups, you can pretty well tell which one's going to be an alpha, which one's going to be, beta as well, the submissive type dog. But I really like, I found the majority of the dogs that I keep are usually alpha.
Right. Does that ever present a problem in the pack?
Nah, to a certain extent. With the males more so, because I have two alpha males, and them I do not let, nowhere near one another, because they're so big. One's 135 and the other one's 125. One Bullies in Bison, and man, he's just a solid brick, so there'd be no way to get them apart safely. Mm-hmm. So I try to, make sure there's no chance of them ever getting in a fight, because they're never going to be next to one another.
Right. How many dogs do you have now?
Right now I have 11. I have 5 pups and 6 adults. And one of mine is a pet home adult that I've kept, Sasha. Mm-hmm. She's the 65-pound. She's not fixed or anything, but she's more of a standard class, and I feel my males are way too big to take to her safely, so I just don't breed her. Mm-hmm. And then my Mona dog, which is the pups are off of Mona and M. Bison. I have 5 of them right now, which one sold. He is leaving at the end of the month. And I still have 3 available in my keeper off of them.
Okay.
So yeah, I had my hands full of working a full-time job with 2 kids and 11 dogs.
That's the name of the game, right?
Yes, it is. Juggling everything, and making sure I have time for everybody.
Yeah. What does the diet look like? What are you feeding?
I feed kibble, I feed diamond, and I also feed raw as well. I feed it sometimes as a topper, like hamburger meat, and I'll do some coconut oil because that's super good for their skin, and fish oil and things like that, and vegetables. And sometimes I just do straight kibble. I do more kibble in the wintertime to keep their weight up.
Right. Okay. Outside of fish oil and coconut oil, do you supplement in any other way?
Yes, I also give joint vitamins with them being a big dog and stuff. I was using Sentinel, or I guess that's how you say it, ordering them from Chewy and giving them, and it seems to really do good for their joints and stuff. I've never had a dog with any type of joint issue or anything.
Right. Do you, when a female is pregnant and when she's also whelping puppies, do you feed them any differently?
Oh, yes. I give her, cottage cheese, sour cream, sauerkraut, anything that'll help her lactate. I use Oxymama as well. It's a supplement that gives them a lot more colostrum in the early stages for the puppy, so, they get all the vitamins and stuff they need. So,
what is your plan? What is your vision? Is there an end goal here, or are you just trying to kind of figure it out as you go?
Pretty much figuring it out as I go right now, but, like I said, once I get, I'm going to start doing a lot more show ring stuff and getting more involved with shows and stuff like that as I have time. But right now I'm basically breeding to get a good enough dog in my eyes to actually bring to the show, and place very high.
Got you. So does the fact that your dogs are raised and have a natural disposition to be protective, do you see any conflict in that when it comes to taking them to a show, or are they pretty social?
They're pretty social. I take them out, I take them to Tractor Supply and Walmarts and Lowe's and things like that, so they do interact with people. It's just the more protective side of them comes out when they're at home. When they're on their land and their property, that's when they become, more protective and stuff.
Has there ever been any incidents where they've had to show that?
Oh yeah, there's been plenty of other dogs and stuff come in to up here on my property, and they've actually saved me a couple times. There's a Rottweiler that lives right down below me that gets loose all the time, and they definitely don't let it anywhere near me. So,
Well, that's good. What's your favorite registry and why?
My favorite registry, I guess I would have to say either UKC or BRC Global. I like BRC Global because they do shows, here and not real popular towns. They're not like ABKC. Just go to the more popular towns, which I totally understand because, the name of the game's money in the end, but you also have to show the small towns, love as you go as well. You can't just always go to the big towns.
Right.
A lot of the good dogs, actually are going to come from up-and-coming breeders or small towns, they have secret dogs stashed back.
Right. So, what do you do when you're screening customers?
That is a big thing for me. I've had some bad experiences with that. I've learned the cheaper your dogs are, the worse customers that you're going to, accrue and that are going to want to buy dogs from you. it's more of a headache than what it's worth, and there's so much work that goes into these puppies with love, attention, medical attention. You know, you have to be there with them 24 hours a day in the first 7 days, you know, to make sure everything goes good and that you don't lose any puppies. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just love my dogs that much to where I don't want to take the chance, you know, on losing a puppy. So I'd just rather dedicate my time to it and, you know, ensure that it's survival pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And what advice would you give to somebody who wants to get an XL Bully?
Make sure that you have plenty of time and plenty of money, because it's not all fun and games like everybody, you know, makes it seem like. It's not all puppy kisses and money floating all over you. It's a lot of hard times. You know, just be prepared for letdowns. Don't think that you're going to come in and the first litter you have is going to be perfect, because it's not going to work that way. Mm-hmm. But just you know, show patience. You got to love what you do to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a labor of love.
Yes, it is, brother, because I'm telling you, I've probably spent way more money than I'll get back off the dogs, but it's just the love that they've showed me and the unconditional love. I mean, how do you repay that with money? Right.
I agree. So you would definitely agree with the market, the dog market being down right now?
Yes. It's, you know, a lot of people during COVID and stuff, it was the bully craze is what I call it. Because, I mean, everybody and their brother, these dogs started getting popular because everybody was sitting at home and had more time. And, you know, these dogs started showing up on videos and stuff like that. Next thing you know, everybody wants to breed them. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think that's a lot to do with why it's washed out right now. It'll come back. It'll just take a while to weed out the beginners and stuff, because they're not going to stick around anyway.
Right. I could see that.
Yeah. If you're in it for the money, you're not going to last. I mean, you got to do it for love.
Right. There was you know, I remember back when I was breeding bullies, just UKC paper dog. Actually, I had my stud triple registered under the UKC, AKC. I mean ABKC and ADVA, but back then, man, I was making good money. I only had a couple litters, but I mean they were flying. And
yes.
I moved down here to South Carolina, and I don't know, a year and some change later, I was like, yeah, you know, maybe I'll take Debo to something else. And they got a hold of this Razor's Edge female, nice. And this is back when they were still working type. They still really resembled a show pit bull or an Amstaff almost. And I did the breeding, and I mean, it was messed up. You could barely give one away, you know.
Yeah, it's terrible, man.
It's like, what happened?
People don't see the value in them, and, you know, like I said, with all the new breeders, and they're doing it for the money, it's just oversaturated, and it's hard to get people to see your product at the end of the day.
Right. And what I don't understand is you can pay $1,500 to $2,000 for a great quality working animal. But these people, a lot of them are paying $5,000, $20,000, $50,000 for a dog that's going to die in 4 or 5 years.
Yes, deformed, you know, going to have heart disease because they're just packed, like you said, packing the weight on them, and it's not good on them at all. You know, there's a premium weight, you know, that you want to reach, and then you don't want to just keep packing food onto them or vitamins and supplements. They want the dog off the Bully Max bag, and they don't know how to get it.
Right. That was Fader, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the thing is, too, like, I mean, going back to weight, it was just, like I've spoke about this before, my Rottweiler, everybody, like, assumed he was, like, 140, 150 pounds. He was only 100 pounds. He was a big dog, but I think people have a misconception, you know, when they're looking at a dog. I think they guess a lot more than what the dog actually weighs.
Absolutely, I see that a lot.
Yeah, he was, I mean, hell, he was 100 pounds flat, very athletic. He can beeline across the yard with no issues. And I remember getting a house call once. This couple wanted me to look at their Rottweiler. They're like, oh, she's so mean and aggressive and blah, 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 blah. I said, well, let me see the dog. So I go over to their house, and out walks this, I shit you not, beach ball of a dog.
Holy
And
crap.
I'm like, what are you guys feeding this dog? They're like, pedigree. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Well, how many times are you feeding the dog a day? Like, oh, we just make sure her bowl's always full. I'm like, okay, well, that's mistake number one. That's mistake number one. And I try to explain to him, I was like, listen, if you can't see the dog's bottom two ribs, or if they're really exerting themselves and breathing heavily, you should see a lot of ribs.
Yes.
You know, I wouldn't want to see the dog's spine in a dog like that. A conditioned pit bull terrier, maybe you'll see a little bit of spine, but
Absolutely.
in a Rottweiler, you shouldn't see the spine, but you also should be able to count a couple ribs when they're just chilling. So they're like, oh, well, we want you to see if you could take her for a walk, but she's gonna growl at you. She's gonna growl at you, and we're afraid she's gonna bite you. And I'm like, I don't think the dog is overly aggressive. I don't think she's gonna bite me. And they're sweating bullets thinking this dog's gonna bite me. I put her on the leash. I start walking her. She starts growling, but it's not at me. I'm like, the dog's growling because the dog is in excruciating pain.
Absolutely.
The hip dysplasia, in my opinion, hip dysplasia, joint problems, all these things, 50% of the time at least, can be equated to the dog's weight.
Absolutely.
It has to do with the dog's weight. If I told, and I even made a deal with these people. I try to be a nice guy when I can, you know. I said,
Right.
if you follow my instructions on feeding and exercising this dog, I will train her for free.
That's a heck of a deal.
I called them back. They said we set up a date while I was sitting there with them, and the date comes around. I'm calling them, no answer. Then I happen to bump into the lady at the store, probably, I don't know, 8-9 months later or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, how's Roxy doing? You know, oh, she died. And what I wanted to scream it in her ear. That doesn't surprise me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My Roddy is still alive to this day. I retired him and got him to a nice. He 9 years old, still not a gray hair on him. Still in tip-top shape. This old retired guy, you know, lived alone. Still very active himself. He just wanted a buddy, something a little more imposing to keep people out of his house. That dog is 9 years old. October he'll be 10 years old, and he's still fully youthful. There's nothing wrong with the dog. That tells me he'll, you know, I call it a 15er. You know, if you're lucky, you'll get a dog that lives to 15 years.
Exactly, brother. Yeah, and that's anymore. You know, they're living a fraction of that. It's terrible. But it goes back to what you were saying. I mean, there's no tuck to the dog. When you see it, it's just one big old blob. I mean, you can't see any of its muscles. It's overfed. You know, they're free feeding them. They don't understand. You know, there's directions on the back of the bag. If you flip it over, you know, follow them, and that gives you at least a guideline. Sometimes you have to feed a dog more. Sometimes you have to feed it less. But definitely don't just free feed them.
Right, and I was talking to your cousin Dakota about food. It was just I don't care if you feed cheap dog food. If you're gonna feed it, at least know what the ingredients are, and feed it accordingly. I mean, Dakota's dogs look great, very well taken care of, and he feeds a normal dog food. So there's no reason why somebody can't feed, you know, just a regular store-bought dog food and have good results. I just did a interview with a guy just a little while ago before I was getting ready for yours, and he feeds premium dog food, but when his dogs are puppies, he starts them on puppy chow to fatten them up. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's all in how you're feeding.
Right.
This dog wasn't just, this Roddy I was talking about, not mine, but this couple, This dog wasn't just, like you said, a blob. This was literally a protruding beach ball. She was round.
Wow, man, that's terrible. People don't realize. They think, oh, that's how you show them love. No, you're destroying their life and their health benefits. I mean, are going out the window.
Yeah, and the dog's growling because she's in pain. I was like, the dog's not. I was scratching the dog on the top of the muzzle, under the chin, behind the ears. Her little nub was wagging. She had a dock tail, and her little nub was wagging. She was fine. But as I'm petting her, she's growling. She's not showing teeth, but she's growling because and I could see, like, the way she was, like, it was almost like pacing while standing still, like she's trying to switch the weight from one leg to the other on all four of her legs. I like it. This little girl is gonna die. Like, you guys have to. And I did say that. I was trying to be as nice as I could, but I told them if they didn't fix her weight issue, that the dog was gonna die. And like I said, 8-9 months later, I find out the dog died. It's just, man, some people shouldn't even have a dog.
Absolutely. That goes back to the screening process. I make sure, when I screen a client, I want to see, not necessarily digging everything that they own, but I want to see, do you have a good piece of land? Are you going to be able to support this dog, financially and time-wise, and give it the love and attention that it needs and deserves? Because, they're so good a dog. I just don't understand how anybody could mistreat a dog. But some of them, like you said, with the lady over feet, she's thinking the whole time she's doing a good thing, but she's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also want to reiterate on that, like, a dog, a lot of times somebody will send a dog to the shelter for the dog growling at them. And for the listeners, the only thing a dog growling at you means is they're uncomfortable with what you're doing. Now, if they're snarling and showing teeth, and that's a different story. But a dog that grunts or growls a little bit is only telling you, I'm not comfortable with this. Instead of thinking your dog's aggressive and throwing them directly to the shelter where they're most likely going to die, have some patience, take a look at the situation, figure out what part they're uncomfortable with, and slowly socialize them, what's the word, desensitize them to that issue that's stressing them out, instead of just throwing the dog away. Because, I remember when my Rottweiler growled at me, I was like, holy shit, like, it made me uncomfortable. But I was putting him in a tactical harness, and I've never done that before. And I'm kind of holding it a certain way that was making him uncomfortable. He growled a little bit, and it freaked me out until I, did a little research. I'm like, because I learn every day. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm a student.
Absolutely, brother. Me too. If you get to where you know it all, you don't. Chances are you know very little.
So I'm looking up, why would a dog growl? What, how dogs communicate, this, that, and the third, and all that is them telling you they're uncomfortable. You don't have to throw away the dog or think the dog's aggressive. Now, me personally, there's another thing I throw out there here and there, just so people, I want to make sure people know this about me personally. I don't believe, do what you want, they're your dogs, but I don't believe it's safe for a high prey-driven dog to be around small children, especially unsupervised. Now, I won't leave a dog with a kid under any circumstances. I don't care what kind of dog it is. But when it comes to big, high-driven dogs, once they hit a certain size, I personally don't let them around children, period. Because
I feel the same way. That's exactly why I got away from the American Pit Bull Terrier, is because there's such a high prey drive. And if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't own one at all, and Dakota harps on that a lot. Mm-hmm. He's really good at that. He will not put a lethal weapon in a child's hands, more or less,
Right. And the thing is, too, and I throw this scenario out there all the time. The dog doesn't have to bite a child to seriously injure a child. The dog can, you ever been playing with one of your dogs and they jump up too fast, like almost trying to give you a kiss, but they damn near punch you in the face with their muzzle.
Yeah, headbutt you. Oh yeah, every day just about.
Wow, like they're like my band dog. I go to put his leash on him. He sits nice for me to put the leash on him, and then he's really excited to get out the door, you know. And so as soon as he hears that clip, he jumps up like he's trying to give me a kiss, you know, on the face. But there's been a couple times where it was just like a muzzle punching me in the side of the face, you know. And if, you know, a dog was to get worked up and do that to a child, I mean, that could break a nose.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, people think, well, my dog would never do that. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what every single person says who's been on the news because their child got mauled by a dog.
Absolutely. That's the statement right before that most of the time. You know?
Well, no, he would never do that.
My dog would never do that, you know, and then boom, it does it.
Right. And it's insane, too. Another thing people don't realize is, you know, if there's a female in heat, not only are her hormones changing, but any male dog around, his hormones are changing because he can smell that female in heat. So,
absolutely.
You know, he smells the female in heat, and, you know, your kid walks up and, I don't know, grabs him by the nuts or something, he might flip the fuck out.
Absolutely. And I know my dog Boston, you know, he'll fast. I can't even get him to eat a treat or anything when one of my females comes into heat. I mean, he is just, that's all he can think about, you know?
Yeah.
So it's absolutely capable of happening, and I don't ever advise anybody, even with my dogs, just to leave them unsupervised with a child. I mean, anything can happen, you know, and just avoid the situation to even make sure you're not in that situation.
Right. I mean, I've heard stories of even 50, 60-pound pit bull terriers, American bulldogs, dogs like that. They're 50, 60 pounds, and they can kill a full-grown man.
Absolutely.
So even a Chihuahua or a small Patterdale, or even, you know, any one of these tiny dogs even can seriously hurt a child.
Oh, absolutely. We had a min pin one time, man, and I tell you what, that's the meanest dog I've ever owned in my life.
Yeah, man. I mean, and when I say all this, it's not that I'm trying to cut out people that have small children. It's just, if you're going to have small children and have a dog at the same time, in my opinion, that should be a strictly outdoor dog.
Exactly. I'm with you.
Because, I mean, especially with all the news and breed bans and all the new legislation that just keeps popping up everywhere, it's just like, all right, the nanny dog doesn't exist. Let's stop with that bullshit.
Yeah, whoever come up with that shit, that's non-existent. I mean, that's what they want to think in their head. Mm-hmm. You know, that's fine, but still, don't advocate for these dogs to be alone with these small children. Or even, you know, children that is my oldest daughter's age, 10. Yeah. You know, there's no way that I'm just going to let her alone with my dogs just out there playing around with them, because anything can happen.
Right.
I mean, I fully trust my dogs with my own life and have for years, but, you know, there's no way that I'm willing to risk my child, you know, under any circumstances.
Right. I think if somebody wants to get a dog from me and they got children, I'd say between 10 and 12 is kind of the, you know, depending on how mature the kid is.
Yes.
If the kid is, you know, we're talking, you know, a kid with responsibilities, a kid who knows right from wrong, things like that, you know, good parenting. Then, you know, if the kid wants to throw the ball for a dog in the yard, that might be something, but
yes.
But when it comes to especially more than one dog, or if it comes to a kid that doesn't quite follow the rules, maybe wants to bend the rules a little bit, you know, I've had to, you know, stop kids before, you know, and I'm supervising, but they're petting the dog, and then they want to grab an ear or something. I'm like, whoa, 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 no.
Yep. Or straddle it. I've had children try to do that. No, do not sit on the back of my dog. It is not a pony.
Yeah.
You know, it is not the coffee table. Do not do that.
Yeah, shouldn't be sitting on the coffee table anyway, you little shit.
Yeah, exactly. You know, act like you have some manners, because my kids, they do that, I gotta say. And, you know, my girls, they know what the rules are with my dogs, and they follow them, you know, to a T. But little Amy, she's actually a Irish boy employee is what I call her.
Yeah.
She, you know, washes all my bowls daily, because I do very, very cleanly with my dogs. You know, I do not like a nasty dog.
Mm-hmm.
I try to, you know, teach them when they're young. We're actually moving into my next litter. I'm going to start trying to litter train. I'm going to see if I can get that down pat.
If you could what?
Get the litter training. Have you ever heard of that? You put a litter box in there and actually train the puppies starting out, you know, young, you know, 3 to 4 weeks to actually use the litter box instead of pooping in their whelping den.
Oh, no, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, Jessica Hawk, a lady I watch, she's another, Raoul with QBN Kennels, you know, he does that big YouTube channel and stuff. But Jessica Hawk, she's a lady that used to be affiliated with him and isn't anymore, but she is, I mean, she's super bright when it comes to whelping and stuff like that, and I've been watching her for a while, and that's one of the things I learned from her, was she started putting a litter box in there and getting the puppies to use it. So if I could do that, man, I'd have it whooped.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, I'm trying to picture, like, how to move that into when they're older, and I think it'd be really cool, like, if you were able to litter box train them on, like, say, if you filled the litter box with, like, loose gravel,
Right.
and then later on in their outdoor kennels, the flooring is loose gravel.
Yeah, it's
So
like pea gravel.
Yeah, like what you'd put down before you put down, you know, sod or whatever. So it's like
Right.
that would be actually genius. Then they would know, okay, this is the only spot I can use the bathroom, not on the green grass, not in the dirt, that on the gravel itself. That would be, man, that would save a lot of headache.
Yeah, it sure would. It would be ideal, brother. I'm working my way towards that, you know. You start out with what she does is big old paper pellets that she orders. But, you know, the gravel is actually an idea that you gave me that would be even better to do. And, I mean, all you would have to do to clean it would be get you some kind of screen, you know, come out and rinse it, put some cleaner on it, and dip it out, and then just dry it off and put it back in there and let them go again.
Yeah, and if you had like a dog, if you had like a, say like a 6x10 kennel, you can, you're going to have a dog house in the kennel, and that's what, like 3 foot, 3.5 foot by 2 feet or something like that. So that's going to take up a corner. And the other corner next to that, you could just make a square of gravel. That way, if they're shitting in their kennel, they're not walking in it. They know that little spot over there is where they, you know, use the restroom. That would keep the rest of the kennel clean as well. You'd have one spot to walk in and clean up. That's genius. I gotta write that in my ideas.
yes, and that was a great idea. I'm going to also do some research on how to do that, because I built my own whelping room and stuff, and it has hardwood floors in it. That was one of the main things, you know, easy cleanup. But, man, this last litter, like you said, they had used the bathroom and then walk in it, and it's like, oh, man, dude. You
got to wash them every 10 minutes.
Every 10 minutes, dude. It never fails. You go in there and clean it, and you try to go back and take a picture, you know, and here's a big poop spot right in the middle. It's like, crap.
Yeah, what did you say the lady's name was that originally came up with that you saw the litter training?
Jessica Hawk.
Jessica Hawk.
I forget what her kennel name is now. It was QBN Andy, but I think her kennel name is, crap, I can't remember. I'll have to message you later and tell you. But, yeah, she's a really knowledgeable lady as well. And, you know, just one of the OGs that's done the research and put thought and time into this. Mm-hmm. You know, I try to learn from a lot of the older people that's done this a long time. So, And I'm no newbie, but I still learn things, daily.
Yeah, that's what's so fascinating about the dog world is every time I interview somebody, jotting down ideas I get from different people. I didn't know about the zip line kind of thing. You know what I'm talking? The runner.
Yeah, runner. Yeah,
I didn't know about that until like last year. I seen somebody's yard set up, and instead of chain spaces, they had the chains hooked to individual runners, and it gave the dog, just so much more room.
And I'll tell you something that's even better than chains, what I use, and I find that what works well is actual tow cable. It's a aircraft cable, and if you take and you can find, a good 15 foot is what I use, and then my runners, themselves, the main part's about 50 foot, and that really gives them a lot of exercise space, which I have a spring pole set up for both of the runners, and then I have a big metal apparatus that we actually welded together and made for a more professional, I guess you would call it, spring pole. And it's got one of the big fancy springs. My cousin went all out, and heck, he gave like $100 and some for a Dodgeman's actual K9. I forget the company, but man, it's serial numbered and everything,
Wow.
But before then, I was actually making my own spring poles. I was taking bar metal and taking multiple garage springs and making them myself.
Right. I seen one guy made one by using the springs from a trampoline.
Yes.
No, that was a decent idea. And all he did was put he cemented just a metal, a metal pole into the ground. Metal gate post kind of thing, I guess.
And I'll send you some pictures and stuff too of the spring pole setup. Maybe it can help somebody else in creating some ideas, because it works pretty good. You can use the tree limb setup in some of the videos I'll send you some of while working the spring pole. You'll actually see the spring setup that I made. And then you'll see the other big, more professional spring pole side of it that I have up here in the flat part of my yard as well.